Hello, hello. This one's gonna be a fairly complicated thing to unravel, and um, it will go against a lot of common beliefs, which I'll have to take apart one by one. But the general idea is why I think that weak people are incapable of love. Um, so let's start by explaining what I mean by. Let's draw the connection between how being strong and being capable of love, like where that even originates from. And to understand that, we will have to look at love as like what effect does it have on people? Or what does it even mean to love something? Because a lot of us um, use this word excessively without it actually having the correct meaning. So what does it even mean to love something or someone? A lot of people look at what stimulates them and be like, that is love. Whatever entertains me, whatever engages me, whatever makes me feel alive, that is love. And that's a very hedonistic view of love. Other people, um, I mean, how else would you define it? Um, so you have people that say it stimulates me. Someone you have positive feelings towards, even though those people are often the same as the stimulation people because positive feelings stimulate you. How interesting. Um, what else? Someone you care about. Uh, or care. Just care, right? Something you care about. Even that, to some extent, is, you can only get stimulated by something to the extent that you care about it, right? So even within caring, there's different categories of it. But in general, it's something like this, right? Something that stimulates you, something that gives you positive emotions, and something that you care about. I would let's try to explain. Um, okay, let's try to make some examples. Let me think of why this is not what people consider to be conventional love for at least the first two examples. The third one can still be love, in my opinion. So, first of all, anything can stimulate you. Can stimulate. What does that mean? For example, you have five different things that stimulate you. Those things don't have to be unique. In a sense that I will make it simple. Let's say you're in a relationship and you're quote unquote in love with someone, with, your wife or whatever, your partner. Let's say your partner, let's just say partner, and then what connects you is what you call what you call love, but in reality, it's Ben. How should I say? Um, no, let's just say stimulus. So what connects you is a stimulus, like she or he or whatever the fuck you're attracted to, um, makes like your brain activate, right? And that makes you feel alive, and it makes you want to keep activating your brain. And it might be something about them that activates your brain, right? It might be, I don't know, the way they look, the way they speak, the way they treat you, whatever, right? It anything that they're doing could be the thing that's causing the brain activation, causing you to get stimulated. And you say that this is love. I would say this is an attraction. It's not love. Those are not the same thing. I will explain what I mean by that. So let's say I am chilling, and I find a funny TikTok short or whatever, and I find it very stimulating. Do I say I love that? I could say I love that meme or whatever. I love this short. I love this content creator. But in reality, uh, there's nothing unique about that specific short in a sense to me. As in, um, let's say we have something, an entity. No, in short, let's just say we have an object that you think, how should I say? I'm gonna scrap the first attempt at it to explain it. I'm gonna explain it a different way. So we have an object. We have this funny video, right? This YouTube short or a person. It doesn't really matter. It works the same way. You have an object, and that object, when you perceive this object, creates a reaction, a response. So that object, let's say you didn't perceive it, it can't create a response, so whatever, it doesn't really matter. By perceiving it, it creates a response, and you might find this response to be valuable that it triggers. So, like from your perspective, what it looks like is you have a certain object that triggers a response, and that response is what is valuable to you, what you what gives you what you want. It might be positive emotions, it might be the funnies, it might be whatever, right? It might make you more fulfilled. That response is what you become attached to. But this response isn't unique to the object. There could be many different funny TikTok, YouTube shorts, or whatever that trigger the same response or can uh, create the same response upon viewing them. And to you, it doesn't actually matter which one of them. You're not trying to laugh by a specific video. Let's say I'm trying to trigger a certain response, like laugh, right? When I'm trying to laugh, I'm not like, I want to watch that specific meme to laugh. Usually you don't care which meme or which object triggers the response. You just want the response. So the response is the thing you're uniquely attached to. But the object is irrelevant. It doesn't matter who gives you it. And that applies directly onto how people view love. A lot of people might have some sort of like deficit or whatever, or might be wanting something from people. For example, I don't know. So a common thing is loneliness, right? A lot of you retards are feeling lonely out there, and you're looking for something to fill that loneliness. And you find whatever object that fills that. That might be YouTube Shorts, that might be talking to your friends, that might be finding a partner, that might be marrying someone, whatever. The main thing you're trying to accomplish is fill a certain need or get something. And it doesn't matter who does it. It doesn't matter who you marry. It doesn't matter who your friends are. As long as there's someone there. And you value them based on the response that they trigger. So, if, for example, and that is true for most relationships, for most people. For example, are your friends really your friends because of who you are, or are they your friends because of what you give them? And if you want to do an experiment, if you're, actually interested in verifying this, try changing um, what kind of responses you give to people, what kind of things you offer, and you will see how much they actually care about you. And the answer is basically no one actually cares about the object. They just care about resolving the responses. Um, and if you do, um, and that's not that hard to observe unless you're really stupid, in my opinion. So you can value someone based on the value they provide without caring about who they are in the slightest. Like zero cares. Um, and I think that's also there's not necessarily anything wrong with that. That's natural to humans. Uh, but it's an important distinction to make. Valuing something because of what response it gives you versus actually valuing them for what they are is extremely different. These are, how should I say, often conflated, but they're not the same. I might love the fact that someone is, uh, that I'm not lonely anymore, or I might love the feeling happy or having the funnies, but that does not correlate to loving um, whatever object it is that gives me this feeling. And that's okay, you don't have to. For example, with music artists, right? Um, there's a lot of really fucked up people that make really beautiful music. You don't need to love them as people to love, their creations. And they are separate, they're not the same. Um, okay, so I've made this distinction. Um, do you love the response that something creates, or do you love the thing that creates the thing itself that triggers that? And first of all, I will just go here and explain. If you're really low IQ, you are incapable of seeing the connection between how objects create responses. Like you're able to see it on a very low level, but not on a high level. In a sense that you're not able to, how should I say? You might be able to connect. Oh my God, these responses happen because of this object, but you're not gonna uh have the awareness or ability to realize how much of it they're targeting directly at you. So, for example, if someone is all the time um trying to cater to you, all the time trying to make sure that you feel good, make sure to please you, uh, or maybe you have experienced this, like where you're really trying to help someone, you're really trying to be there for someone, but to to them, you're just one of many ways to get what they want. And but to you, they like you're specifically targeting them, if that makes sense. Like you're going out of your way to help them, and they don't see that. And it's a very common thing, at least from what I've observed. I don't know, maybe it's not common, but in my observations, it is. So a really like low awareness person will not be able to see how that specific object might be how should I say, like uniquely targeting them, if that makes sense. For example, let's say you have a friend and they open up only to you, like you might not realize that you're the only person that they have kind of like done this with, if that makes sense. Like you are special to them as a you're the only person that they're willing to do this with, and others not. So, but like a very low IQ, very low intelligence person will never appreciate or will never realize this. And well, I guess that's okay. But it's the thing I'm trying to highlight here. So at first, even before we get to the like meaty shit, low intelligence person will just never notice. He will never notice, therefore he will never be able to pick up on these things. And whatever, that's fine. Um, that's why you see some examples of, well, first of all, to even be able to target someone in that way is already a sign of slightly higher intelligence. I don't know how else to put it. Like, if we were to think of intelligence as your perspective and how um, much you see relatively, very, very low intelligence people are psychopaths. They're just incapable of seeing others. They're incapable of seeing the picture. They're like, oh, I just need to solve this problem. They solve the problem and they don't even see what is behind the solution, if that makes sense. They don't care. They just want to get their fix and move on. You know? It's kind of like a drug addicts a little bit. Like they don't care where they get their cocaine. They just want their cocaine. And those people, they're going to be blind, and there's spec- to other people being kind to them. There's no point being kind to a person like this. It's like, how should I say? You will never get anything in return from such people because they exist like on a lower plane of consciousness. They just don't make such associations because they don't see them. And that's fine. Whatever. It's like I'm trying to think of animals as an example. I don't know. Let's say you have like a rat cage. But fuck, I feel like even animals have this level of awareness. Like some of them, and some of them don't. So it's not even. Fuck, it's a little bit complex to look at. But I will, for sake of clarity, try to make an example. Let's say you have a rat and you're giving it cheese. rat is like, oh my god, cheese, and like that's all it cares about, right? It doesn't notice who's giving it cheese. It doesn't have, the capacity for that. It doesn't have the capacity to care, and, and therefore it cannot form any form of a connection to the giver of cheese. Eh, okay, so I won't explain as much. I think if you haven't understood it now, you're probably a lost cause. Uh, okay, so there's that. Then, okay, let's say you've parsed things out into response or attachment to the object, and the responses are not um, the responses are unique, but the object that triggers the response might not be unique. So, for example, you might feel like your loneliness, uh, like it doesn't matter who feels your loneliness, as long as they do it, you will feel positive feelings, if that makes sense. You'll get positive stimulation, and maybe you will care about those things because in their absence, let's say you had three people giving you company, and now you have only one. Now you have maybe a little bit less um, attention or whatever, and therefore this need is getting filled less, and you might um, care about them by proxy of how much they affect what you can get out of them. It's the equivalent of, let's say you have a company and you have, I don't know, 100 workers, and you care about just getting money, and let's say each worker is giving you, you know, as helping you earn money, and you lose half of your workers, you're sad not because the workers left. You're sad because you're making less money. And by extension, that you're making less money, you're gonna be sad that the workers have left. So it matters what the original root cause is. So, and you can't say that you love to say that you love the workers because you're sad when they leave, or you care about them, but you only care about them in association with what they give you, then you never loved them in the first place. That is not love. That is, you love what they give you, but you don't actually care about them. So stimulates them basically generally comes into this category. So you have something that creates some sort of a response, that creates a certain stimulus, and you conflate that with love. That is not love. Positive feelings towards kind of the same thing, very close. Care often also can be grouped with here, but I would say that care is maybe the only thing that can escape this. Um, so okay, uh, we've made this distinction, and now what does it mean to be attached to a specific entity or object, specific someone or something? Um, or what does it mean to love specific something or someone? Uh, and the answer to that is, well, there's a lot of different definitions that people go to, but generally the thing in common is that you care a lot about their well-being independently of what stimulation they give you. Um, so, for example, they might be paralyzed or bedridden, and they might not give you, the love that you might want, or they might not love you in return, or they might not give you anything, positive, but you might still care deeply about them, uh, regardless of that. What does it mean to care deeply about someone? Well, caring about someone could be a positive or a negative thing, right? It could be a you could hate someone or you could love someone, right? It's like I hope this guy dies no matter what. I really care to see this guy go to hell or whatever. So it's not necessarily caring does not necessarily equal love, but it's about seeing them for what they are and not the response that they give. Okay, so hmm, it's about caring about them and also having like a generally you want the best for them, like a goodwill towards them. Um, what does that mean? That a lot of people make the mistake here as well. They're like, uh, for example, if you're someone that you love is suffering greatly, are you going to kill them to put them out of their misery, or are you going to watch them struggle, right? This is a very common thought experiment or whatever. Are you going to euthanize them or not, right? And one would argue that because their quality of life is so low and they're suffering so hard, the loving thing to do is to kill them. And on a surface level, that does appear to be true. Yes, like they're suffering, their life is so miserable, and if you quantify life as, having value based on whether you're suffering or enjoying it, then yeah, like just go kill them, right? So by that logic, let's say you have someone very close to you and they want to kill themselves. If you love them, you would just let them kill themselves, or you would kill them, right? Very loving. Uh, I would argue that's also a misattribution. That's like a projection of someone else's um lack of spine, usually. It's really weak people that are prone to thinking this way. Uh, Let me try to explain this. What do I mean by weak people? Or it could be, or another way people would argue is like, it hurts me to see you suffer, therefore, I'm gonna let you go. But it's the same as the responses, right? If someone is triggering like emotional, a lot of those people want them to die out of like almost selfish reasons. Like, it hurts me to see you suffer, I want to move on, please die already, right? And I love you so much that I want you to die. Again, this is a person who might have like some like connection to the person, but the responses that this person's creating is hurting them, and they're out of selfish reasons, um, wanting to euthanize them. And a lot of these people are very retarded in the sense that they don't have the self-awareness to realize that that's why they're doing that. There's a lot of people that are masking it as if it's a noble or a pretty thing. It's like, oh, look at me, I'm so noble. I'm gonna put this little animal out of its misery because you know, he's suffering so much. But in reality, watching them suffer hurts you, and you're the one that wants to kill them because you are being hurt. And what you're doing is just justifying it based on how you're feeling. There's nothing but selfishness there. You're not doing it out of love, you're doing it out of protection for yourself and masking it as love. Also as part of protection for yourself. Because, you would feel less about yourself if you didn't do this mental gymnastic. But it's pathetic, right? But most people do this. Um, okay, so let's say it's not, uh, okay, let's say it's not one of those, which it is 90% of the time. Let's say someone is genuinely suffering and you are okay with, it's not out of selfish reasons that you want them to die, um, and you're looking at them suffering, would you euthanize them? Okay, let's think about that. Here actually, the answer is up to interpretation. Like, yeah, maybe, and maybe not. It's kind of a personal choice, I guess. But I'll explain the thoughts behind it. I'm not saying what is the correct or wrong way here. Um, if something, for example, the object, right? Even, how should I say, suffering on its own is not enough of a reason to kill someone. In a sense that suffering can, if anything, make someone more beautiful or make them, how should I say, suffering can be a path to growth. For example, let's say, if you look at, you know, some of the greatest people in our history or people that we admire, a lot of those people have suffered tremendously and took that pain and used it to grow into something, you know, bigger or greater, right? That's kind of, you know, there's something really beautiful about that. And even if we look at children, let's say, let's go parents' love to a child, right? You might view your child and think, well, I love my child, therefore I don't want him to suffer. I want him to live a painless life. Is that love? Or again, you're just projecting your own weakness. You're so scared of suffering. You're so weak inside yourself that you're projecting your own weakness onto them, and then you want them to live in what your projection is. As in a sense that, let's say I am a down bad hedonist, or let's do two opposites, right? We have the down bad hedonist, and we have the good religious person. Muslim or Christian doesn't fucking matter, right? Um, if I am, let's say, Christian, and I love my child, and to me, like, finding God has bettered my life, and I think that is important. I will project um, that onto my own child, and I'll want him to find God. Or this is a common argument that I've seen, when debating with Muslim people, uh, on why they're so, extreme about trying to get their relatives into their faith. And they'd be like, well, that is the answer. I want them to find happiness. I want them to go to heaven after, right? And to some degree, that's understandable, like wanting the best for them, right? Except, again, you have taken one of your beliefs and projected it onto them. And if they are opposing this belief and you are enforcing it, then you're not doing it out of love. You're doing it again out of how you feel about it. Because if they're not Christian, if they're not Muslim, or if they're not whatever fucking religion, then you will feel bad that you won't meet them in heaven in your own belief, right? And the idea of that hurts you, and because of that, you're going to try to make them into whatever. So trying to make someone into something, that is a projection of your own weakness or your own desire or need. That is not direct love for the person. That is again self projection. Okay, then let's say you could argue something like you want them to be strong, you want them to be um, powerful, as also projection of this. And I would say no. There is something different in someone wanting to be strong that can't be conflated. So, for example, let's say there's again you're a parent and you're looking at a child, and let's say the child has faced some difficulty, right? You have a choice. You have a choice to tell them, "Oh, it's okay, meh, 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 meh. Everything is nice. Uh, your daddy, mommy's here for you, meh, 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 meh." Um, well, it depends on what kind of problem it is. You could support them and kind of, okay, wait, I need to, even here, just to avoid misunderstandings, split it. So, there's different levels of support. There's the proactive and there's the passive support. Oh, wait, I'm thinking about this as I'm explaining it, actually. So, you've all heard the saying, like, helicopter parent or whatever. It's the people that are they have their own view of how life should be, and they're so scared of their child of living it any other way that they would try to override everything that happens in their lives. They try to hover over them no matter what. Oh, did you get a scratch? I got a band-aid for you. Oh, did you get this? Let's take you to a doctor. Let's do this. Meh, 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 meh. And they're always just forever making the child feel good, and they genuinely do that out of their connection to the child, which makes them feel better about themselves. But what does that do to the child? What that leaves the child infantile and weak, and that child becomes dependent on them, which is something that they want because for selfish reasons. If their child is dependent on them, they can feel like, they're important or whatever. And a lot of people, when they become parents, do fall into this. Their whole life becomes their children. And this is extremely destructive. This is like toxic motherhood, or if you've ever heard the saying. Men can also do this, but generally it's like a feminine trait. Even if a man does it, it's a feminine trait, right? Um, so the problem with that is it doesn't if you're so protective of this and you argue that it's love that is making you protective, and it being protective you're actually killing its potential if you're just crippling it and making it weaker. The question is, do you even really love it, or are you just weak and selfish? And I would argue that you don't love it, because if you love it, it's kind of like ah it's really hard to explain. If you love it, you would want to watch it grow to be strong. In a sense that, I mean, it could be argued that you wanting them to be strong, as in strong, as in a sense of independent of you, independent of anything, because strength is the thing that allows them to kind of like spread their wings. It's the thing that allows them to become more of themselves. You cannot be yourself if you're not strong. Okay, let me explain that because it's a very big nuance here. Strong versus weak. You have societally or otherwise, it doesn't really matter, powerful or not powerful. The difference between them in their experience is massive. Strong does what the fuck they want. They don't need to compromise on who they are to get what they want. For example, let's say uh, there's two people in the world, two people in an island, and one of them is really strong and the other is really weak, right? The strong can basically do what the fuck they want with the weak one. They're completely in their mercy. Um, and it's completely up to the strong what they want to do. Uh, with the weak person, like it's completely up to them. They want to leave them alone and let them be. That's fine. And if they want to go and I don't know, beat them up or dress them up like a doll, that's also uh the choice of the strong. The weak simply does not get a say in that. He does not get a vote. They get a vote proportional to their power. Again, let's say there's two of us on an island, and I'm fucking Hulk, and you're a tiny ass little Lilliput person, right? And there's no one else to. There's no other power. There's no magical entity that is gonna come and serve justice and protect, the little weak guy. It's just real life, right? There is no cosmic justice that a lot of people, I am not gonna get into that, but a lot of people make up and believe this shit just to make themselves feel better about being weak. But let's say there's something that you do, there's something about you that really annoys me, and I want you to stop. Let's say you really like singing and dancing, right? And I want you to stop. Because I have monopoly on force, I can just make you stop. Because the alternative is that I kill you or beat you up. Or I can literally physically hold you down so that you can't do it when you try to. So, strong have a monopoly on power. And this monopoly on power allows them to um, limit their freedom of weak people, right? The strong is free. He can do what he wants, and he even has ability to influence the freedom of other people. Uh, and the weak does not have this because someone else has influence that is able to influence their freedom. In that situation, they don't even have their own freedom. You're gonna sing or dance, I'm gonna stop giving you food, and you can't hunt. What the fuck are you gonna do? Starve? No, you're not gonna sing or dance, right? Um, yes, you might have freedom of, you'll never break my will, you'll never break my spirit. Sure, you might have freedom of thought to some degree, but it's still, you're not going to have monopoly on power, and you're not going to have true freedom unless you have this power. Or unless the strong decides to give you it, which is, again, their choice. If they want to give you it, then fine. And if they don't want, unlucky, you know? So, why am I highlighting this? If you were to look at freedom of expression or your ability to be yourself, if you're strong, you can be, there's no one to stop you from being yourself. And if you're weak, there's the strong that can stop you. And you could say, well, no one's gonna stop me. You've just been living in a very easy times, very simple times where, well, or you're just retarded. Probably the second, honestly. Um, Whatever. I'm not gonna even go down that line. You can think about that yourself. Not really my problem if you're too stupid to see this. Um, okay, so if there's a child and you're a parent looking at a child, if you're making them weak and dependent on yourself, it's the same as taking away their freedom. And the question becomes, if your love, or quote unquote love, is equal to limiting freedom of whatever you love, is it selfish or not? And you could say, well, I'm limiting their freedom because it will be better for them, and meh, 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 meh. Again, if you're limiting the freedom of someone
because you think it is better. That is again coming out of what the fuck? That is again coming out of selfish origins. Let's say you don't want your child to become a heroin addict, therefore you protect them, and you could say that is love. Yeah, I mean that's fair enough. It'll be very hard to find someone who is in the right mind who would disagree with that. Um, but also, if you're at the same time, maybe the reason why you're limiting it is because you don't want to see them become a heroin addict because of what you want, and you're willing to exercise your power over them to dominate them and override what they want with what you want. So, so a lot of the time, almost always, this will have selfish origins. Maybe always, actually. Maybe always. Maybe this is absolute. But I'm just not fully sure about it yet. So, if you are, if your love is suffocating and it's not making them stronger or more free, then it's selfish. And if you want them to be strong, this is not necessarily selfish because only with strength they get the ability to be free, and only with the ability to be free they get the ability to express themselves. And if you truly love them for what they are, that is the thing that you want the most for them. You want whoever you love to have freedom of expression. Let's say there's a certain TV show or anime or whatever song that you like, right? Or artist that you like, and you really specifically love the art, or not the art. Like, let's say you love the artist. You would want them to have the ability to express everything that they want, exactly how they want to. And you wouldn't go like, "Oh my God, how dare he kill off this character?" Meh, 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 and then cry about that shit. That just shows a lack of love for the creation itself. If you're unable to respect their own freedom of choice, their own freedom of expression, like the idea they want to express involves a certain character dying, and if you're unable to respect that, then you don't actually love the art. You have again a very selfish, like low intelligence view of love, right? So I think that was a bad example, but we keep going. So inherently, if you love something, you want to see what they are. You want to understand them. You want to see more of them. I don't know how else to put it. You want to. There's a strong desire to. Again, with the TV show or anime or whatever art you're watching, it's like if you love the work, you want to see what this person thought of next. You want to see what their future work is gonna be. You want to hear what their next evolution is gonna be. You want to observe it. You want to take all of it in and understand it. You don't want to just watch it on a surface level. You really want to engage with it on a like a deeper level and really understand them. So and you can only they can only do that if they're free. If they're limited, if they're weak, if let's say their boss is saying you can't kill this character because our sales will die, then they don't have creative freedom. And because of that, they can't express themselves fully. And if they can't express themselves fully, then they're less of themselves. They're expressing something else. And if that's what you want, then you don't love them. You love whatever feeling it gives you, not them. If them having freedom of expression worries you, then you don't love them. It's as simple as that. And so, if you love someone, you want them to be strong because only this, or you want them to be free, and by extension, you want them to be strong. It's not that you're projecting your own, like, oh, I want them to be strong because I think it's important. It's an inherent thing. If you even understand remotely how the world works, that if you love them, you want to see them, and for you to see them, they need to be free and strong. Otherwise, they're going to be shackled, and you're not going to, see them unravel fully. Okay, so that's kind of the difference between wanting someone to be strong versus weak. Okay, let's go deeper. Why? So I was saying about suffering and how, you know, if someone's on their deathbed, you could say that, would I euthanize them or not? Okay, so suffering and how does that relate to strength? You could say, out of selfish reasons, I don't want them to suffer because, that hurts them and by extension that hurts me, even though you probably don't have awareness to realize that because you're stupid. Uh, but that's what's happening anyway. It doesn't matter if you realize it or not. Um, so you are, by saying I don't want you to suffer because that is um, hurting you, that does not necessarily mean that you love them, even if it's not selfish. Because sometimes for you to become free, you need to suffer. Uh, a lot of the time, for you to be stronger in some ways, in one way or another, you need to. There's strong connection between. You don't. It's not the only way to do it, but it sometimes it's the only way. It really depends. There's some things that, let's say someone has like a heroin addiction, right? Of course, you could put them on, fuck, the replacement drug. I don't know what you call it, and slowly they could come off it. But it's still gonna come, long term for them to get off it. It's still gonna be some. They're giving up something that they were addicted to, so it's always going to have some degree of suffering. So, uh, the point I'm saying is, let's say you want to kill someone so that they don't suffer. But what if this like suffering that they're experiencing right now is the thing that defines who they are and lets them like unfold their wings, if that makes sense. Like what if that's what allows them to express themselves? Like their suffering is them. For example, let's say you're on your deathbed, right? And and in that situation it's going to be just life or death, right? You have an extreme illness or something, and it takes extreme perseverance to go ahead of this illness or stay ahead of this illness, or it takes extreme amount of energy, or let's just say you need to really how should I say, it's just life or death, right? And you're, at a severe disadvantage. And to me, maybe this is personal, but I think there's something that makes you you in your ability to resist death. If we were to go, okay, okay, I'll have to explain this thing separately, I think. So, what makes you you, right? And to explain this, we'll need to think about things in terms of energy or yeah, energy, and in terms of life or life and death. So you have, if you were to think of yourself as, I've mentioned this idea, maybe I'll explain it more in detail later. It's something I've realized kind of recently. But if you were to look at yourself as always like someone who's either accumulating energy or losing energy. Um, for example, you experience a positive emotion that makes you accumulate energy, you feel better, and then you experience a very negative emotion. Um, I don't know, let's say loss of a loved one or something, and that might make you lose energy. And enough of these negative experiences is going to hurt your health eventually, because you're going to lose this like energy that is making you excited about life, that is keeping you alive, and you're just going to get drained. You're going to get drained, and eventually your body, your physical body, is going to start reflecting that, and you're going to become weaker and weaker, and your immune system is going to become weaker and deteriorate, and you're eventually going to become more and more ill and less capable of, fighting infections. Well, the opposite is also true. If you're always accumulating energy, you're full of life, and you're very, positive or whatever, then you're going to become stronger as things go on. And yeah, of course, over time, generally, we lose those things, like as we get older and, our body generally degrades. But generally, if you are accumulating energy, you're going to be more resilient, you're going to be stronger, you're going to be more capable of you're going to have more to fight for. Okay, let's say I've read a few books on this, and it's very interesting to look at. Um, so the main book I'm going to reference here is I'm still reading it. Well, I'm actually reading a few books on this topic, but fuck, I forgot what it's called. In um, a man's search for meaning, and by Viktor Frank, and the core idea that he kind of illustrates in those books is that first of all, I'll add context. So the context is Second World War, concentration camps. So they put Jewish people in these camps where they're you know if you know even a little bit about history, you have an idea. So this person is like the author of the book was like a psychologist who's observing people and trying to you know uh, learn something about humans nature, and he was one of the people, like he was Jewish, and he was one of the people in that labor camp. And the core idea that he kind of the one of the core things that I took away, even though I kind of already understood it, it just reinforced it from this book, is the key thing that connects to our health and our ability to keep moving on and living is our own whether our own life is worth living. So what he described a lot is when someone kind of like lost their mind, when they lost their will to life, they would die very quickly. They would die within a few days. Um, and people that had like strong convictions and had strong reasons to be alive and were able to see their life as something that like see their extreme experiences that they're in as just part of attaining that greater thing, those people were way more resilient and could survive, you know, way longer under those extreme conditions. So to some degree, their own ability to survive was influenced, like the kind of things it was like fatigue, and they weren't eating much, and your own ability to keep ahead of those things was dictated by your um I don't know what's the English word for it, by your how strong your desire to live was, and that came from how you saw your own life, right? And why am I explaining this? I'm explaining this as your health is directly, and your the amount you're able to do, like physically, is directly connected to how much you want to live and how much you're tired of life. And the moment you let go of, you know, your excitement, your importance of life, you're just going to get, it's just going to get taken over by feelings of being tired, bored, and just like a feeling of fatigue, like you just can't do this anymore. And that will, make you more frail, and, you will eventually die. And I think, okay, I think I've explained the idea. So, and the thing I was trying to explain before was, even in an extreme situation where there's extreme suffering, that is also an opportunity for you to find life. Just because you are in the most extreme circumstance possible, like I would say concentration camp is one of the most extreme circumstances. And that does not necessarily mean that you should be put out of your misery. Like, imagine if you are one of those people in the concentration camp, and you're doing everything you can to stay alive, right? You're really fighting for this. You have some greater cause. For example, this guy who wrote the book, he said that his cause was, you know, he wanted to present his findings to the world, and he always imagined himself, doing a lecture explaining what he learned about, man, and how fascinating it is. And that was the thing that was, keeping him sane, that was keeping him engaged in his own life, right? This kind of vision that he had. Imagine you have this person who's in the middle of his struggle that is capable of fulfilling this vision, and you were to abruptly end his life. I think that is extremely cruel. Like, if you were to see this person who's fighting for his life, and you were to say, I don't care about your fighting, it's hurting me to see you in this state, therefore we're just going to euthanize you. Like, my look at me, how kind I am. I'm gonna euthanize all of these Auschwitz camp people, just so that they don't have to suffer anymore. What the fuck is that? Like, it's a little bit fucked up to take away someone's opportunity or someone's chance to take away their chance to find their life, if that makes sense. Yes, things can get very hard, but and in the end, it's, you know, their choice whether they're willing to fight or not. So back to the someone's terminally ill, should you euthanize them or not? I would go as far as personal view, no. Why? Because who are you to get in the way of, first of all, health is strongly affected by your mental state. The fact that they're still alive with a terminal illness shows maybe that they're still deep inside want to live for whatever reason, right? And if they didn't, maybe they will, die soon anyways. Or like if they're just tired of fighting, if they're just exhausted and they can't take it anymore, their condition is going to get worse very soon. Or they would have already died by then. So who are you to intervene into a man's fight for his own life? Like, It's not as simple as you either decide you're going to live or you're going to die. You don't decide that on day one of Auschwitz. That's something that is brought out to light and reinforced during the struggle every single day. And to interfere with that, to just take away someone's ability to find life, just because you think that their life is not worth living because they're suffering a lot, I think that's disgusting. Um, and then you could say, well, the opposite could be true. You're making someone suffer who isn't willing to live life. Yeah, maybe. But also, I don't think a person is capable of knowing that until they're right there. Like, I think it's relatively easy to face death if you let someone else take it out of your hands. Like, oh, they will just euthanize me. All I have to do is ask. That's really easy. But to yourself, um, give up, your hope for life, that is a completely different story. So I would say even if someone is like on their deathbed and they're begging me to kill them, to some extent, maybe they're not true to themselves. Maybe they might have, uh, maybe they see how much it's hurting us to see them in this state or whatever, and they want, and a part of them doesn't want us to suffer, and that is making them feel bad. But if we weren't there, they would be fighting for their life completely. There's a lot of complexities to man, and to just interfere there, I would say, is completely senseless. Like, you don't have the intelligence or the ability to know what that person would have been if you didn't interfere. Even though, you know, you might say, well, there's no possibility for recovery, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but you don't know what they would have done in their time while they were there? And there have been, through history, many examples of people doing exceptional things under those extreme, exceptional circumstances. So, I don't know. You're just taking away someone's, in more simple terms, you're taking away someone's ability for self-expression, which is, if you love them, the main thing that you would want to allow them to do. And if you're truly love someone, you would want to see how they ride out the situation. This seems very sadistic, but I think that's um a more accurate view of love. Like, yeah, it's gonna hurt me to watch you suffer, but I still want to see you in your final days, just to see what you are. I don't know, to me, at least, love is characterized by care and curiosity. Like wanting to see what that specific person or object, what they will do, uniquely them, not in terms of how it affects me or what I get out of it, but uniquely them. I want to know everything about them, and I want, and um, I won't let, my own personal weakness get in the way of that. It might, break me seeing it, but I will still take that, trade. I'll still watch. I'll not close my eyes. So maybe a little bit complex, but if we were to kind of collapse everything into a simpler model, to actually, wait, we can take this back to the title here because it nicely connects. So if I was weak and I was watching someone on their deathbed or whatever, or struggling, and this is their trials, I guess, to find themselves or become something. A weak person will uh first of all, a weak and strong. Another thing I want to add is in terms of traits that make someone weak or strong, like mentally, right? Weak generally see trials as suffering, something to be avoided, and the weak generally see those trials as challenges that allow you to unravel yourself. S- Um, so, for example, something to test yourself, something to learn more about yourself. So you might look at um, a tough situation and you might look at it like, oh my god, another tough situation. How shit that is. That's so bad. Meh, meh, meh. And, that's very pessimistic thinking. That's generally gonna bring you closer to death, energy-wise. And the other is like, oh my god, another chance for a heroic, you know, if it's an extreme situation, it's another chance for me to do another heroic feat. It's another situation for me to discover myself. It's another way for me to evolve. It's another way for me to become stronger. And a lot between being strong and weak and life and death is about how you treat difficult times in your life. Do you see them as part of, what creates your story, something that builds you up, something that allows you to overcome? Or do you see it as, or something like that can grow your energy and your energy is, unlimited, or not unlimited, but it's going to rise over time versus the weak people see things as conservative. They try to conserve energy. They're like, my energy is limited. I have no more energy, and I just don't want to lose any more of it. And so the second guy is, or the weak person will always try to cut losses and min-max. And the strong person is still able to do new things and, evolve and grow bigger and create an excess of energy. Uh, I'm not going to explain that. You can think of that yourself. Not my problem. So, a weak person sees things as limited and it just wants to conserve resources. A strong person sees things as he doesn't see them as unlimited, but he sees them as you're able to create an excess. For example, oh my god, we have only 3 apples left, And from a weak person's perspective, is like, oh, only 3 apples left, how scary that is. We're gonna run out of food and die and starve. And the strong person is like, oh, we have 3 apples. We can grow more from the apple seeds. And we're gonna have more food in the future, or we're gonna use it as bait to make more apples, right? So generally, the strong or someone who has a lot of life energy is going to see ways for the energy to grow, while the weak is always trying to conserve. And this conserved way of thinking limits your ability to, it projects onto other people or how you see other things. And if you think life is inherently a bad thing and everyone's inherently suffering and everyone's inherently retarded and weak, meh, 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 then you're going to have a very pessimistic view of life. And when you love someone, you're going to want them to not interact with life itself, which goes against what it means to love someone. So, helicopter parent are just extremely pessimistic people that are so scared of what is going to happen if their child interacts with life that they are trying to cut all of those or cut the potential impact of how the life would interact with their child because they're so scared. They're always thinking about uh, the limited resources, limited energy, and they want to conserve it. And their weakness is going to not allow the child to unravel and take on this uh not be able to grow and create more energy or become bigger. And because of that, they're going to become lesser version of themselves. And because they become lesser version of themselves, like that goes against loving someone. What part of loving someone goes to like, oh, I love them so much that I don't want them to ever express themselves. Oh, I love you so much, so please don't chase your dream because how much it could possibly hurt you. Like, fuck off! You're just projecting your own weakness onto someone else. And that's disgusting. That's not love. That cannot be loved. It's a pathetic imitation. Um, that masks itself as compassion or empathy. It's not. Um, is that? There are way more points on this. Uh, but I think I want to. Maybe I'll make a second part or part two. I think I'm done for now. Goodbye.